True wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. As of recently, I've been getting into depth of like understanding and what true wisdom is. And I've came to the conclusion that we don't know shit. And because we don't know shit, we it allows us to expand more, but so many people believe that they've already have an understanding or grasping of a subject. And truly that can't be true, and we'll explain why. I believe there's three main reasons as to why we may be in this plateau or this uh, barrier of not expanding our knowledge. The first reason I believe is due to the Dunning-Kuger effect. The second reason could be because of confirmation bias, and the third effect is in knowing that we know nothing. So let me explain the Dunning-Kuger effect. So the Dunning-Kuger effect is when a person with little knowledge over a subject believes he knows everything about it or is overconfident over that subject due to the lack of knowledge to self evaluate himself. So, let me give you a good quick example. Let's take a food eating competition. Someone, well, we've all eaten before, right? And that person may have watched some YouTube videos, may have seen some like how to's and something like whatever. And that person may see a eating competition on YouTube and he may believe to himself that I am capable of that. I can be the winner. I can eat that faster than him. He himself believes that he's capable of such things without understanding the full story to it. So it's almost like an ignorance, or it's not an ignorance. That's one of the things that caught me off guard with the Dunning-Kruger effect. That it's not an ignorance, but a failure to understand their own abilities. They had this pedestal to believe that I'm capable of so much, but the reason they believe this is because they don't know the full spectrum um, of the subject. So if that same person were to enter the food eating competition, he will be he will understand that there is more levels than what he believed. He wouldn't have the technique, he wouldn't have the endurance, the capacity to eat that much. But because he had believed that he was ready and he was already all that, he failed to prove to he had failed to understand that there is more to it. There was a study that explained that I believe it was 80 or 90% of Americans believe they were above average than any other American when it comes to driving. And obviously that is not true. Not there can't be so many people that pass the average. Like how can it more average 80% is more than average. So how can the average say that they're better than most people? You know what I mean? And it's crazy because such a lack of awareness of our own ability makes us stick to one single spot. We believe we know so much and we fail to recognize that we actually don't know anything, that we stay in this area because we aren't exposing ourselves to extra knowledge. There's actually a graph um, that best represents the Dunning-Kruger effect. Even though it's not reflective towards it, it helps explain what happens after you learn during the Dunning-Kruger effect. So around here, probably put a picture. So at the very top, when you barely begin to learn some knowledge, you get confidence, right? This is where the Dunning-Kruger effect mostly takes place, what I'm referring to, where people have little knowledge over a subject, but since they aren't aware of what so much more they need to learn, they believe they're the best of the best. So they're right here. Their confidence is right above here, way above here. That is called Mount Stupid because they failed to realize that there is more to the subject and Because of this failure, they stay there. After that, you may see like a little downward slope, and that is called the Valley of Despair. Now, here in the Valley of Despair, this happens once you begin to understand that there is more to the subject than meets the eye. So, the idea comes from that once you have an understanding over something, you realize that the position of where you were or the knowledge you knew about the subject begins to deplete. Your confidence over it will go down, and the more you understand, the lower it will go compared to what you had in the beginning. Because now that you know more, you have a better understanding of how to correctly self evaluate yourself. And because of that, it leads to a very low confidence level. That's why some people, if you ask them a question over their, what are they called, major, they may not be some may not be confident in their own major because they've learned so much new info that they believe that they're still missing spots because they finally understood that there is more to this than just simple, let's say, one, two, threes in mathematics. And once you start to have like a good understanding of the subject, that's when it starts going up. That's called the slope of enlightenment. So this starts to happen when you get a good understanding that, okay, I'm starting to get what I didn't get before. I'm starting to have a good understanding of how things work and what I need to do. And at some point, you're going to get to the point of what is called the plateau of sustainability. Yes, plateau sustainability. Right here is mostly where you'll see the teachers, the experts, the masters. Right here, you'll see that they are aware. They know good amount of the subject. But and most images of the graph, the Mount Stupid and the plateau of sustainability, there will be a huge gap. Okay? And the Mount Stupid, you'll see that it's more higher than the plateau of sustainability. The reason of this because once you're right here in the plateau sustainability, you're still aware that there is more to learn and there may be more to it that you may not know. Right? The plateau is, since you know more about the subject, you have a more understanding of your self evaluation. You can evaluate yourself more accurately, more better. So if you just take a test and they ask you, how do you think you did? Sure, you can be confident, but most of the time, it'll be around like a, oh, I was 8 out of 10 confident or 9 out of 10. While people in the over here in Mount Stupid may all believe, oh, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. And that's mostly what happens after. And most people may believe that they're over here in the plateau of sustainability, but it's so hard to realize to yourself that you may just be in Mount Stupid. So another thing that maybe why you don't fully understand that you are missing certain knowledge points is because of the confirmation bias. So the confirmation bias is the bias towards yourself to only search for information that supports your inner world. Let's say in politics, let's say you're a Democrat. If you look into the political rules or the benefits of one party, you would only be informed of the Democratic Party. You'd only go to news that support your claims. You'll only go to websites that will benefit what you already know, because we have a certain bias to have a wider understanding of what we are comfortable with. Because for the mind, it is better to just keep certain information than rather than just changing it up. So because we only focus on aspect of a subject, we are limiting ourselves from seeing the whole picture. So, like I said, like the Democratic Party, if you're Democratic and you only focus on one area, you're gonna believe that that's it, that this is the right side, that this is right. But if you begin to shift your perspective to the Republican Party and and understand what it is that they are representing, what they're going for, and truly going in depth of what they may be doing, there may be an understanding of that party. And this ability shifts your understanding of both sides. Of okay, I may have a bias of this side because of the way I grew up or the way I was raised. And now I begin to understand this side because I've been exposing myself to it. And that's a good way to expand your palette of knowledge because bias is everywhere. We think of one thing and we think it's right, but we never see the other options because we believe that what we know is true. But in reality, that in itself is just ignorance. We truly don't know everything unless we see the full picture, and most of the time, that's not even possible. You can never see the full picture. And one good thing that I want to mention is that with the confirmation bias, there's a certain aspect of it that relates to the Dunning-Kuger effect, and that is with confidence. So when it comes to understanding something, people who have little understanding have higher confidence, right? And in the human mind, we prefer to automatically go with the one that speaks to our benefit. There may be two, let's say there's two, how do I put it? Two politicians. One politician is very confident. He claims that he's going to do this, he's going to do that. He claims that this is how it's going to go. He's very straight towards it. He goes for it. The other one may be unsure. And most of the time, the one that is unsure may be because he is aware of more things. He doesn't promise much because he knows of the uncertainty of things, but people don't like this. People look for confidence, people look for certainty of what they want in this world. So, most of the time, the let's go back to the uh, political parties. For the Democratic parties, you will follow someone who proclaims one aspect of the party rather than talk about both parties because it's what we know. It's our world, so we believe it's the most comfortable. But we disregard what others say because it's different. And it fascinates me that it's two very similar or two very different topics because the Dunning-Kruger effect talks about how we aren't aware of how much more there is to learn, while with the confirmation bias, we only listen to what we want to listen to. And there's such different aspects, but they're so similar in that way. So for my third point or my third advice is the quote that Socrates famously is known for is that true wisdom isn't knowing you know nothing. Now, from my understanding of how he said this quote, the oracle back then had proclaimed Socrates to be the wisest one of them all. And for him, Socrates, he didn't believe it So he went out questioning those who wanted to listen to his preach. And most of the time, it'd be people who would say, I know this, I know justice, I know true wisdom, I know this and all that. But once Socrates starts to go more in depth onto what they mean, it al- almost opens their eyes that I truly don't know what I'm talking about. And that's what he was referring to, that not everybody knows what they're talking about. And so many people don't even realize it, that it clicked to him that they're not aware of their own limitations of knowledge. So he came to the conclusion that not knowing nothing is the true wisdom, because once you believe you know everything, you again, like before, you stay there. You stick to what you believe, and since you believe you're right, you're not going to go explore for more. But knowing that you are limited and that you don't actually know everything, it gives you this idea to go out there and learn for more. I have this written down. Understanding you know nothing allows you to learn more. Well, I probably already said it, but that's beyond the case. And I like how all three of them go into depth of why we may not be expanding our palettes or our understanding of things. The Dunning-Kruger effect. We fail to recognize that there's more to it, and since we don't know everything, we fail to self-evaluate our own understanding into something. The confirmation bias. We only see one aspect of a subject because it is our understanding and our reality, that we fail to see other aspects of the picture. And then we have Socrates, who understood that we are very limited to what we understand. And since we're limited, it gives us an opportunity to go out there and, and find out for more. So, like I said in the beginning, we truly don't know anything. And but for Socrates, he found that as a amazing thing, because since we know nothing, then what more can you do but learn? And I feel like that's such a great idea. Just go out there and learn, because we truly don't know everything, and our limitations allows us to go out there and learn so much. And even if we believe we know everything, there may be aspects that we don't see because of what we only expose ourselves to. And once we do that, we can correctly self evaluate ourselves and seeing how we see the world and see what our understanding is. I just find that so fascinating. Right now, I have a free course that I have going on that's open for everybody. It's meant for people that are trying to find understanding and their purpose. I myself haven't found purpose, but that's the point of it, is to help each other uh, figure out what we are looking for in life and how we can get that from each other. So if you like deep ending topics like this, then go check that out. It's still open, completely free again. But if not, just like the video, and I hope I see you next time, and keep wondering.